shining too. It's good, good. Thank you, Karen. Our theme this month is rooted in the divine. Rooted in the divine. Just imagine it. Imagine that you have roots that go deep, deep into the sacred soil of the earth, into the divine dirt of the earth. This place where the divine has provided all that we could ever need to make our lives just the way we want them to be, to make our world a world of peace, the world that we dream of, a world that works for all. Our roots are our openness to the abundance and the joy and all of the resources of the divine. But of course, roots don't do any good unless the soil that they are embedded in is rich, unless the soil that they are embedded in has the nutrients and what is needed to grow and prosper whatever it is that we are growing. Today's topic is divine dirt, sacred soil. Okay, what is this stuff that we are rooted in? What is the essence, the very essence that we sink our roots into for our nourishment and our guidance and our abundance and our joy? I'm often comforted remembering that the phrase that I live, move, and have my being in the divine. I live, say that with me. I live, move, and have my being in the divine. So, and that living in that's where the divine dirt topic came from, just in case you're wondering. That's what we live in. I live, move, and have my being in the divine. I'm rooted in the divine, and all that the divine is and all that it has is mine to soak up and use. Now, we often talk about soil when we explain our teaching symbol. Wait just a second. It was there. Okay. Our teaching symbol, and here it is as well, has three parts to it. The top, we call it seed, soil, and plant. And the top talks about how everything comes from a seed or an idea. There's first a thought, and we talk here about how our thoughts become things. Well, this is the process. And then they move through this creative medium, through what we call the law, and then something sprouts. There's a plant, an effect. It's what shows up in our lives. It's our relationships. It's our level of abundance. It's our level of joy. It's all of those things that show up in our lives to make us delighted or not. So everything that is created first as an idea. First as an idea, and then it goes into this thing in the middle that is the divine dirt, the soil. And that is the part of God that has all that is needed to bring anything into manifestation. Any idea that we can hold, that we can truly believe in our hearts, is acted upon by the divine, that part of the divine that we call the law. So divine dirt. Okay, we got dirt again. So what is this sacred soil that we're rooted in? It's the creative essence from which everything comes. It's the creative essence from which our life arises. It is the very life that lives in and through and as us. It's the source of all intelligence. We talk about how there is only one mind. I mean, we all have different thoughts, but there's only one mind that we use, and it is the mind of God, the mind of the divine, and we each get to use it in our own unique way, creating what it is we choose to create with our thoughts and our words and our actions. So we're surrounded by this infinite source of intelligence, and it is just waiting for us to consciously call on it, to consciously use it to create what we want to see and feel and experience in this time on the planet. Because we are co-creators with the divine. There's this power that we can use. There's a power greater than you are, and you can use it. Ernest Holmes says that over and over. In fact, he had a radio show, and that's what he would start the show with every week. There's a power for good in this universe greater than you are, and you can use it. So as co-creators with Source, with God, with whatever you want to call it, this creative potential, we're here to explore it. We're here to see what we want to do with it, but it's also here to support us. It's here to provide what is needed. Excuse me. All that we need is already present in the sacred soil, just waiting for us to draw on it. So this divine dirt that we get to sink our roots into is love. It is compassion. It is creativity. It is goodness. And we can draw on that however we choose to. This creative process responds to our thoughts. It responds to what we truly deep down believe. It responds to our words, and it responds to our actions. I love the readings that you had, Jim, talking about how, okay, we just pray all day. But let's, Ernest Holmes said, and I thought you were going to say it, treat and move your feet. Pray and then act. Do what you're called to do in any area of your life. So this creative process is always saying yes to the seeds that we plant in the soil. Always saying yes to what we nurture. It doesn't know how to say no. It always patiently and impersonally waits for us to choose something, and then it acts on. I mean, the soil doesn't reach up and look for seeds. It waits until something is planted. And that's what we do with our thoughts and with our wishes, with our intentions, with our deeply held desires. The soil is absolutely ready to enliven anything we plant in it. Anything we plant in it. Whether it's something that we really want to see come into our lives or not. If we're holding beliefs about limitation and lack, if we really believe that, then that's what's going to show up for us. If we really believe that peace is possible, if we really believe that our school children can be safe at school, then it is possible, and we will be led to do what's ours to do in addition to our prayers. Here's what Ernest Holmes said about the law, this power that I'm calling divine dirt or sacred soil. He said, it has the intelligence and power to produce, but no choice as to what it is to produce. Having no conscious mind of its own, it receives all ideas given it and tends to create a form around them. If it could choose, it could reject. This is impossible. This is as impossible as for the soil to say, you must not plant spinach this year, you must plant cauliflower. Yeah, Ernest. So we send our roots deep into the sacred soil by choosing what to say yes to. A few weeks ago, Karen sang a wonderful song by Sean Galloway called I Choose Love. And in that song, he talked about how I can choose love or I can choose fear. I can choose darkness or I can choose light. I can choose laughter or I can choose tears. I can choose rainbows or I can choose storms. It's totally up to us. We are in charge of our consciousness, and we are in charge of what it is we choose to put our attention to. For this soil, this dirt contains all all that is needed for us to grow whatever we choose to plant. Now, just as this slide shows all of these roots that are growing into this soil, this divine soil, and yet each set of roots creates a different kind of plant, all beautiful. We don't all create the same thing. Wouldn't it be dull if our lives were all the same? But as we dig our roots deep, as we do that, then we get to blossom in the ways that we want to. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Even miracles are possible. Do you believe in miracles? Here's a story about a miracle. Melody was 8 years old when she heard her mom and dad talking about her little brother, Andrew. She knew he was very sick and that they were completely out of money. They were going to have to move to an apartment because they didn't have enough money for both the doctor bills and the big house payment. Only a very costly surgery could save her brother, and it was looking like there was no one to loan them the money. She heard her dad say, "Only a miracle can save him now. Only a miracle can save him now." So little Melody went to her bedroom and pulled a glass jelly jar from her hiding place in the closet. And she poured the change out on the floor, and she counted it very carefully. She counted it 3 times because she wanted to make sure she knew exactly how much she had. Then she put it back in the jar, put the jar in her pocket, and headed out to the drugstore that was a couple of blocks away. She waited patiently for the pharmacist to pay attention to her. But he was busy talking to a man, and he just ignored her. So she twisted her feet to make a scuffling noise, and that didn't work. She cleared her throat with the most disgusting sound she could muster, and that didn't do any good either. Finally, she took a quarter from her jar and banged it on the glass counter. She got his attention. Yeah. "And what do you want?" the pharmacist asked in an annoyed voice. "Can't you see I'm busy talking to my brother from Chicago, whom I haven't seen in ages?" "Well," Melody said, "I want to talk to you about my brother." And she was talking in the same impatient tone. "He's really, really sick, and I need to buy a miracle." "I beg your pardon," said the pharmacist. "His name is Andrew, and he has something bad growing inside his head. And my daddy says only a miracle can save him now. So how much does a miracle cost anyway?" "We don't sell miracles here, little girl. I'm sorry, but I can't help you," the pharmacist said, softening a little bit. "Listen," Melody said, "I have the money to pay for it. And if it isn't enough, I'll get more. This is really important, so please just tell me how much it costs." The pharmacist's brother stooped down and asked the little girl, "What kind of a miracle does your brother need?" "I don't know," Melody replied, starting to cry. "I just know he's really sick, and Mommy says he needs an operation, but my parents can't afford it, so I want to use my money to buy a miracle, because that's what Daddy said we needed." "Well, how much money do you have?" the brother asked. $1.11, Melody answered quietly. It's all the money I have, but I can get more." "Well, what a coincidence," smiled the man. $1.11, the exact price of a miracle for a little brother. Then he said, "Take me to where you live. I'd like to see your brother and meet your parents. Let's see if I have the kind of miracle your brother needs." Now, the pharmacist's brother happened to be Dr. Carlton Armstrong, a neurosurgeon from Chicago. he kind of took over. He performed the operation without charge. And it wasn't long until Andrew was back at home, healthy and well. Later, Mom and Dad were talking about the amazing miracle that had taken place. Her mom said, "That surgery was a miracle. I wonder how much it would have cost." Melody just smiled. She knew that a miracle cost $1.11. Now, this story happened a while ago when it was safe for an 8-year-old girl to walk a couple of blocks to the drugstore by herself. But we know that miracles still happen. There is still that possibility for us if we can believe in it, if we can hold it in our mind. Our roots support us and anchor us in the divine. Our roots absorb water and nutrients and store energy. When oak trees have deep root systems, they are actually enhanced by the winds of adversity, which actually strengthen them as they are blown back and forth, and they don't topple over. When our roots sink deep into the divine potential, we can withstand and grow through absolutely anything. Anything. And one of the powerful things about being in a spiritual community like this is that we remind each other. We remind each other of the good that's available, of the comfort that's available, of the peace that's available, even in times such as this in our country, when things are not always real smooth. Eugene Holden, who was here a couple of weeks ago, wrote this in this month's issue of the Science of Mind Guide for Spiritual Living. Every month he does personal affirmations that are powerful, and you can pick up a Science of Mind magazine if you don't have one, just outside the door there. He says, "You are surrounded by the infinite intelligence that is waiting for your recognition of its presence as you. The truth is that you are abundant beyond measure. You are filled with the healing light of the divine. You are God's vision fulfilled now and every moment called now. Know this truth. Live this truth." We are here to remind each other of this truth again and again and again. Because each of us is rooted deep in the divine, there is a perfection within each of us. All of our unique quirks and idiosyncrasies, and I know some of you have them, that's spirit. That is spirit expressing in, through, and as you in a way that it can only express through you. It can't express through anyone else like it can express through you. And don't you forget it. As a kid, I loved to play in the dirt. I'd make mud pies and little towns, and I'd create roads and drive the little cars around in them. And I just loved the dirt. Now, I'm not so crazy about I used to play with worms. I'm not so crazy about the worms anymore, but I still love to play in the dirt. But I'm an adult, so I call it gardening. Yeah, I'm an adult, so I call it gardening. Let's see. There are other gardeners here, right? You betcha. What kinds of fruits or flowers or veggies are you going to plant this season? What kind of seeds are you going to put in that amazing soil? Whether or not you garden, I encourage and invite each one of you to think about this divine dirt, this sacred soil that we are immersed in. Know that it is there for you. Know that it contains anything that you want to pull up through your roots and have express in your life. It's always here for us. Spirit is always here for us, just waiting for us to manifest our lives of joy and health and abundance. So your homework this week, should you decide to accept it, is to pause twice a day, a couple of times a day, to feel your roots going deep into the sacred soil of the divine. Soak up through your roots anything that you're ready to open to in your life. Soak up love and joy. Soak up abundance and stamina and anything else that your heart is ready to open to. And then watch how it flows out into your life. Watch how it changes the quality of your life. And not only for your life, but for everyone who is around you. And feel free to let me know next week how that homework went. Here's a reminder from Ernest Holmes. Take this in. I know that the Spirit within me is my strength and power. I approach life with a sense of security and well-being. I know that I have a secret source in God. Therefore, I accept the fullness of this moment. I have a calm confidence in the future, a keen and enthusiastic expectation of good things to come. We are each rooted in the divine. But what we choose to plant, the kind of garden that we choose to create, the kind of life that we choose to manifest is up to each of us. We can choose to create our life as a beautiful garden with color and vibrancy as we sink our roots deep into the divine dirt, deep into the sacred soil.
Come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. And there is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this garden, this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where everything you want can come true. A beautiful garden. That garden is you.
So right here, right now, in this sacred place, as we sink our roots into the divine dirt, into the sacred soil, we know that the garden is us, each one of us, that we are here to dream our garden into being, to pray our garden into being, to act our garden into being. I'm so grateful that we have all that is required, all of the support, all of the love. It is on the unseen, just waiting for us to soak it up, waiting for us to use the power of the divine to bring forth our dreams. And so in great, great gratitude, what I declare for each person here is that as we go out this week, we are reminded in clear and delightful ways that Spirit has provided all that we need, that we can simply sink our roots deep into the divine soil, soaking up, taking up all of the nourishment, all of the encouragement, all of the energy, whatever it is we need to create our lives as beautiful gardens, not only for ourselves individually and our families, but for our communities and for the world. We are God's hands and feet. We are God's voices. We are here to use them. And so I am grateful for this abundance that is available to all of us. I simply know that it is always here. We can trust it. It is good. And so I let this go into that part of the soil that we call the law, knowing that my words will not return void, that they will be done, that the law is already acting on all I have spoken. So I can just let it go and let it be, trusting. And so it is.
There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden. That garden is you.
And so it is. This is the time in our service where we get to share our gifts and our tithes and our offerings. So as you pull out your gifts and tithes and offerings, or maybe you're someone who